I want you to know I really honor our meeting here. I salute you, I bow to you, I recognize you as, at the very least, someone who is curious about what it means to live a life, a true life, a life in truth. When I first got interested in spiritual matters, it was the early 1970s, and it was a lifestyle choice. It seemed like a deeper lifestyle choices than my other ones, but still there was a particular way of dressing and a particular way you should act and you should think and you should be, and you should get more of that as you progressed in the spiritual school. And then I met my teacher, Papaji, and he showed me so clearly and so directly that I had been trivializing this deep yearning to know the truth, to realize the truth. I had all the words for it, but he showed me how using those words and trying to fit my yearning into those words was trivial and nonsensical and just the same old cycle. I just had substituted dressing more lovely and thinking nicer thoughts and eating better. I'd substituted that for real inquiry. And when I met him and he said, "Stop where you are," he was saying, in this moment, stop, just be still. Recognize what is always here. But he was also saying, stop trivializing your life. Stop making your life fit into your idea of what your life should be, or someone else's idea, or rebellion against those ideas. Be still. And when he asked me to come and speak to you, he didn't ask me to come and teach you anything, or offer you anything, or give you anything. He asked me to come and confirm in you what is alive and of the greatest significance, and the possibility that your lifetime can be and is to some degree, but can be more and more and fresher, and honoring of that. That you can stop trying to fit it into a lifestyle or a belief system or a list of shoulds and should nots. You should stop trying to use your life to copy someone else's life. And the only way that's possible is when you are willing to be still. To not know what you should think or believe, to not know what you should feel or experience or what should happen or what the results of that will be. To stop this forward thrust of accumulation of a lifestyle, so that you give your life, the attention of your life, to discovering what is life. And then the question, who am I? It can never be answered satisfactorily by, well, I'm a woman, or I'm an enlightened woman, or I'm an unenlightened woman, or I'm a good woman or a bad woman. They just crumble. Those answers are things that are fed to us, but they have no substance. Your willingness to ask that question truly, not as a fad or a style, and to give your full attention to it, is where your freedom is where truth is. So Ramana said, the question is, who am I? Papaji said, stop. And in our meetings, I invite you to join me and us in conversation to discover how is who am I relevant to who I am, to this life, this unique and precious life that will disappear sooner than we expect. How is it relevant? What does it mean to live consciously, freely, openly, in inquiry, in discovery? And this obviously can never be taught, because if there's a teaching, there are shoulds and should nots, and there are things to learn, and you will graduate one day. But there's no graduation here. There's deepening. There's freshening. There's realizing, experiencing what it means to be who you are. And I'm not talking about your gender, although that's interesting, and I'm not talking about your history, although that's interesting too. I'm not talking about your problems, especially not talking about your problems. They may be interesting to you, but they're like somebody repeating their dreams every morning at the breakfast table. It's only interesting to you, and you must be tired of it too. I'm talking about the truth of who you are. And those words don't do you justice, but they're the words we use. And I'm talking about your full and absolute capacity to discover that, to be awed by that, and to surrender your life in the recognition that that is always bigger than any aspect, and yet always connected to every aspect that appears in this life that you call yours. So in order for me to play my role, I invite you to play your role, which is that we give each other full attention, that some of you who are called come forth, and we really engage in a conversation that is alive, that has the possibility to crack the veil of personal identity and unnecessary suffering. I make no promises about pain in your life. I expect all lives have pain. But the suffering, which is what is added to that pain by the narrative of what should and should not be, or can't be, or won't be, this is unnecessary. That's the veil. And in your willingness to stop that narrative, to be still, to inquire, who am I? And then you are willing to put down everything to discover that directly. I say, and probably will say, I am saying today, it is very simple, but it's not easy. It's the challenge of a lifetime. And the only way that you know that you're ready for that challenge is if you experience some quickening inside. I don't mean from this meeting. I mean in general, something that is calling your attention to the mystery of what it means to be. Something that won't let you get away with ignoring it, even though I'm sure you have tried to ignore it, because it often doesn't fit in with what we call normal, or sociable, or even likable. So I invite you to be yourself. And if you find it impossible to be yourself, I invite you to expose what it is you think blocks you from being yourself. Okay. See?